night, the AKJ Zoom call. It was Avalon arthurology in the 21st century. I blew some minds, and the slideshow is going to be available as well. So, well,
what do you think? What do you think about the Arthur story that came out? I think didn't like a new thing come out or something.
I hadn't noticed anything huge.
Oh, I thought there was a huge I don't know. They're always releasing Arthurian stuff, so it just caught my eye one time. I wanted to see if there was some similar discoveries. See if they were trying to feed off of your ideas.
Just as our cosmology has been displaced and it sits on the fringe for no good reason, the real arthurology also is the same way. So most of the stuff that comes out ends up being, when you go and look, basically what they do is they talk about the romantic, they call it the myths, that's really the romantics, and then they go into some speculation and they say did this and then they never ever go into actual arthurology that starts in ancient Wales. And that's the formula. I've even put it into a paper about the Smithsonian. However, I'm not saying, because I don't know what this news is. I have no idea.
It was basically what happened was the knowledge was only left in Wales after all the wars went on. That was the place at the end of it all, sort of 1,000 years ago, where there was any left in the country. Of course, there were little very small pockets that had been dispersed in Scotland and the north and other places. But basically, the real knowledge of the history was kept in the Welsh language, and obviously they were the only people who spoke it, and they guarded it very closely. For good reason, because it's stamped upon at first sight. It's first sight. If
Glamorgan and Gwent were in Wales, that would not go over well with England. The irony is, after Arthur had conquered, if they had managed to keep Logres, then it wouldn't be an issue. And I'm sure I'm butchering that. But it's very difficult to keep England. It's just geologically, it would have been very difficult to keep everybody out. They would have had to half of their population go there and then just start breeding like crazy.
Well, the point is anyway. The British kings were in a state of perpetual warfare and raiding each other, because that was the game. The cattle raids, and so there was. It necessitated a constant war going on between sort of small areas, local kings. That now, in times of invasion, those local kings would stop fighting each other and fight the common enemy. But of course, you'd have ones down in Kent, like the Trinobantes, who were obviously a Trojan bunch. They made good friends with the Romans, and probably the Atrebates probably got on with the more Viking types, the more Germanic types, and off we go. They were hired as mercenaries, brought in for trade, and they came in for trade and in the promise of land, and they were used as mercenaries at one point to keep the peace between the British kings. So it was a strange dynamic, but the point of it all being the knowledge, the ancient knowledge was localized in fewer and fewer areas, and it had to be hidden because it's smashed up every time it's found. Over a short period of time, it's either disappeared or destroyed. And this is the process that we're seeing right at the moment, right across the UK. Wales, England, Scotland, everywhere. It's in a state of pretty
Yeah,
bad unless it's Roman.
there's
So
a big
they're
push right
actually
now.
our history is actually being unfolded according to a narrative rather than what it was, and that's the
Right.
problem.
I think it's always been that way. Um, and right now, currently, you can see the politics of the world right now rewriting all of the Disney stories and history and putting, saying that they were gay, and they're not there to stand up for themselves, saying that a bunch of different leaders throughout the world, they're rewriting history and saying that they were gay and saying that they were different colors, when they're not. It's just that they're always rewriting different things, to appease. Every generation destroys the statues of the generation before.
Yeah, but I think they're over assessing their own abilities now. I think it worked maybe 100 years ago or even 60 years ago when all our communication facility was a radio station with BBC on it, for example. Now we can choose our sources of information, and of course people aren't. People have got away from watching the soaps on TV and being completely washed by that, or sport, or just this thing that's continually fed to you that's meant to be important in your life. But of course, some people now are using this opportunity, not just to learn, but to share knowledge, and most of our stuff, of course, that we talk about is not mentioned on any kind of broadcast show, any kind of money making sort of concern, because these issues that we raise are normally there's already think tanks and various government people, or more likely corporate people who are already involved in researching these areas, and the results just come through the universities, and the first reports go to the people, obviously, who sponsored the report, the doctorates, and so it goes on. We don't get to hear any of it. It's not in their interest to let us in on any of that information. But I think we can start to correlate it for our own understanding. I think that's what we can start to do, because the way that I'm seeing people coming from, we're all sort of seeing the same thing. We're all coming at almost the same, coalescing into the same entrainment, like a pulse, a light beam. It gets coherent, doesn't it? It gets coherent. So I think we've got to find a way, really, to make our thought coherent, and produce more out of that coherence. I think so, and I'm excited by that as well. I do. I think it's fantastic. I can see very many pitfalls, but I think the first job is to express these particular shapes, as Buddy is doing already, but then try and do this in terms of electrical charge, maybe in a plasma experiments, we've got to maybe find someone who's got a plasma chamber who can actually start creating these shapes, and
I got a
that we
I
can
got a friend.
actually. Sorry.
Speaking of which, I have a friend who has a lab who Ramon might be still in contact with. Are you still talking to Garrett at all?
I mean, he was in here, but he left the group, so no idea, particularly why he
Well,
left. He didn't label a reason or anything, but
yeah, that's fine. It might have been just too many pings on his phone or something.
maybe there's a way.
Well, last I was talking with Garrett. What's Garrett's last name again?
Hill.
Garrett Hill, yeah. Last I was talking with him, he really wanted to work with me on trying to create some of these plasma instabilities in his lab. So maybe I can whisper in his ear. He is really hard to work with because he's rarely available, but when he is available, at least we might be able to get an episode or two, or possibly create something together. I literally I can show the specific variances to create the blue whirl and all sorts of other different plasma instabilities because of the just looking at the predictive analytics of the Doherty set, you can see what shapes are predicted to occur. So you have inside of these plasma tubes, you have something called pseudospheres. Pseudospheres is it is the opposite of a sphere. A sphere is positive Gaussian curvature, all positive Gaussian curvature. And this shape that I'm talking about, which actually was first described and discovered by Beltrami. We were talking about Beltrami last time. Beltrami discovered the pseudosphere, and I'm taking the idea and putting it into and showing how it cavitates. It's a natural plasma instability that cavitates inside of the tubes. Birkeland currents, helicon tubes, Whistler tubes, they chirp. It's actually how they chirp, how they bounce and refold back into each other as they unfold. But going back to some of what you were talking about, trying to spread the word, I'm doing an Electric Universe conference in Detroit this year. I have the venue already. I'm super tight with the owner of the venue. I've been there all the time. We can do a couple days, a 2-day event, or a 1-day event if people are traveling. I assume we want to do a 2-day event, maybe even a 3-day event. But it's going to be, well, at least my presentations are going to be geared towards Electric Universe geometry, a lot of it. I didn't want to put it in a parameter and call the conference Electric Universe Geometry, although I have like 40,000 people on our page, on Facebook page, Electric Universe Geometry. We could pull them into the show. So what do you think, guys?
Well, I think that's a great idea. Certainly, I think more events like this are better, and it's I think as well, your work is particularly a great way to grab people's attention. Now, if we can correlate this somehow with the charge flows, and then maybe even with some astronomical examples of these shapes, maybe there's there's a reason why you get a crab nebula and why you get these animal shapes, popping up in these galaxies,
Indeed, yeah. There's a lot of correlatory evidence that supports the behavior of stellar phenomena, the natural unfolding of the geometry of stellar phenomena, the symmetry of it, the axial alignment of it, the axial symmetry, the scale symmetry. It's all mirror images projected upward and downward, hierarchical and lowerarchical.
Yeah.
So Ramon, you want to be a presentation? You want to present? So check this out, guys. We have a large screen that we can project people from all around the world. So we can have presenters from all around the world that don't have to be there. We have a huge auditorium. It's Detroit. It's a little dingy, but whatever. It's not the frickin' Taj Mahal. It's gangster. It's not gangster. It's frickin' really nice.
But it's brilliant.
There's a huge outdoor amphitheater, dance floor, 2 or 3 different bars.
Wow.
It's gonna be. Oh, dude, it's top notch. It's freaking.
It'd be great if you could do it in a virtual reality show as well. Things like that.
In the meta.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And then I think there are more and more people who've got these headsets, and they are pretty fantastic, to be honest. Immersive. And expressing these geometries. It's even if they're just rotating and moving in such a complex way that if you are actually moving around it, you can even get, and maybe have the ability to stop it here and there, rotate it, and have a really good look at it, how it kind of works, and then kind of put that into a perspective of what we think happens with say a star system, well, the solar system, because that's where we've got all our data, really.
Yeah, we pull directly out of it. I want to gear it towards like vessel function. Boom. Gear it towards like really hit home. I might present, at least 2 times, because I have so much information. I can't wait to share with you guys these, what are they called? Wagner crystals. Wow. Holy tamale. This is the gate, like the gateway in is these Wigner crystals, spelled with a W, like Wigner.
Right.
But dude, this really cool, interesting stuff. I'm doing a whole podcast on it, but that thought aside, I just had a vision of the flyer for the show, and it's going to be 1920s, the Roaring Twenties style, back when Detroit was Paris of the Midwest, or Detroit was, the Paris, yeah, pretty much the Paris of the United States.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put like old Tartarian buildings in it and make it look like really old fancy, and get a bunch printed out and make people want to buy the poster, have it be that nice.
Yeah, that sounds great. Because I think a lot of us, well, when you look back around here, around my locality, sort of 100 years ago, well, just 110 years ago, maybe, it had a growth rate of 20%. And so all the technology that was coming in, especially in the cotton industry, money was coming from all over the world to build these factories here to produce cotton that was then exported through the British Empire, But the thing is, all the civic buildings were very beautiful, all stone made, and they still last now. And The brickwork was particularly beautiful. The parks there were parks built symmetrically and beautifully, really, with ornamentation, yeah. But and then of course lots of spires and quite ornate work, and they all look like these electrical sort of spires and receivers and domes and all this kind of thing, and tramways as well. You know, there was pedestrian. It was at the before the car had come, really. You had horse and carts or a tram or the train for industry, and so the actual plan uh, for society. All right, there was more money around, but there was cohesion. And art was integrated into the industrial environment. Um, and now when you look at it, when you look at the architecture, it's so short-termist, and oh no, I mean it's all pretty horrible, really, in my opinion. And I think people yearn for a stable, well run. Well, probably like Switzerland is probably a bit more like Switzerland than where I live, I suppose. But yeah, anyway, carry on. Sorry. So it is it's a cultural thing that would appeal worldwide. You know, to anyone with kind of sensibility, really. I think.
Right.
To couch it in that sort of not a punk, not a what is it, electro punk sort of thing, but if you see, you know, the steampunk movement, um, that sort of tried to capture it, but this would be more of an electrical thing of the same type. I think it'd be quite an interesting way to go with it.
Yeah, for sure. And then that would bring in a lot of the Tartarian people um, into the mix, because I would advertise on those sites. But yeah, this is uh, one big thing I'm putting together this year. I'm also putting together. I'm going to rent out the same place and do a fractal branding festival, a Lichtenberg festival. So that's electric. Lichtenberg is the name of the pattern of electrical discharge that it leaves. So there's a lot of people that are doing this, and it's huge. And I've been doing it for 4 years plus. And there's a lot of people that I can get to come to the woodworking event. That's just another side anecdote. But yeah. What month do you guys think would be good?
Ask that question again.
What month do you guys think would be good? Ramon, you're in Kentucky, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're not prepared down here to do the conference yet in Elizabethtown. We don't have the STEM arena, so yeah, as soon as possible, I guess, for the other one. I'm sorry, I have a call coming in. I have to mute myself. I'll be right back.
All
right. I think, Buddy, for an event sort of this sort of type, you've got to try and get an idea of how many people would be interested in coming. It's the travelling and all this business. I don't know how that's working in your neck of the woods, but it's I don't know. Obviously it's changed over this last couple of years where how far people are willing to travel and what for. I suppose now foreign travel's out the window. More people would be willing to travel internally in the US.
right.
I don't know how the dynamics working, but all I'm saying is if you could get a poll of people who'd be interested in an event like that and be willing to travel, get an idea. And even if you're getting a response of a certain, at least you're putting some numbers together, and you can start focusing on what you can do for the number of people who are coming potentially. I
check this
suppose
out.
if you get over a certain threshold of, then the venue will go into profit, which is what you need to aim for. You've got, because you can't
Yes.
do it at a loss, can you?
Yep. My girlfriend just rented the venue out and had an event. She's all into the UFO kind of stuff. So she had an event called Detroit Disclosure. And there was probably about no more than 30 people, maybe 20, 25, 30 people. And she broke even. And, that type of crew of people would be interested in this event. Also, events like this. And I have a lot of friends that would just come also. So no matter what, I already know that I'd be breaking even and or making more. And the thing is, what's great now is that with a lot of things being virtual, this can be a global event. So it's hosted in Detroit, but it's a global event. And I can project the speakers on the big screen.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to sort of, with these sort of situations. I'm sure there are other people in UK who feel the same way as I do. Who are interested in the same stuff as me. I get some on Greg J's channel, so we could get, say, 20 or 30 in the UK. How many ever you can get. Some maybe in Australia and knocking about in the same areas.
Right.
It'd be good. It'd be good to to sort of get it, like you say, get a network, a network going that people can participate in wherever they are, really.
Right. And I think this is going to be bigger. This has the potential to be bigger than the Thunderbolts project. I mean, not bigger, but more people, just because it's global now.
I could agree with that. That would be ideal for us to get well beyond our culture, to get it around the world, because we'll have data coming from all sorts of people around the world.
I do. Constantly, people are sending me stuff. Once you're established in a certain position, as an influencer, they get all of their information from the public, because people just give them the news in the morning. They get it from this person or that person, and then they just check their emails or they check their messages, and then they have all the news in the morning. It works the same way with my geometry that I'm working. It works similar with the geometry that I'm working with, because people are constantly sending me stuff that they see that reminds them of my geometry, and then so there's so much more correlations to have correlatory evidence.
Yeah, it's a matter of getting all these information streams together, so that we can collect, refer to what bits connect to each other, and sort of connect all this information. It just crossed my mind for a little a network that listens to all conversations on these lines. Scientific ones particularly, or our ethereal ones, and sort of develops bags of words and sequences of phrases, and then I don't know, measures the you can get all sorts of data out of statistics with bags of words, really. I don't know. I was just very interested to sort of, you can categorize people's contributions, where they fit, if you can get any sort of determination on opinions, where they fit with regards to other people on, on certain issues, and so you get information on what your society is, what your the member of your audience, what they feel about certain aspects of the you know, of the data presented to them. But you know, try and get an interactive motion going with people that sort of pushes in the same direction, but hopefully that direction being being a common a positive goal, that everyone sort of puts in a different kind of energy, a different vector of energy, but to attain this movement and growth that we need to see. You know, so just to grow the whole idea, really, put it in people's consciousness from every possible angle, like you say, you know.
Right. While you were talking, I just had this thought to also do some advertisement aimed towards a sacred geometry festival, you know, because that's what Electric Universe Geometry is, you know. So it could be like a festival / because you could do after hours dancing, and I mean, we can stay open till 2, you know. So like it can be a presentation during the day and a festival at night. So that's what I'm gonna do. It's gonna be a sacred geometry festival. Who's done that yet? I mean,
Well, that's
if anybody
right.
should do that,
You could do some really nice work with lasers, can't you? Spinning lasers with lenses, and you know, you can make plenty of hop for, I don't know, all sorts of things, all sorts of shapes flying around. Yeah, with lasers. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I do bubble sculpting, which is amazing, and I could have my bubble sculptures featured, which explains everything about the Doherty set in a 3D and 4D manner, that you could hold these shapes. Terrence Howard taught me how to sculpt in this technique, and it's absolutely incredible. I come up with new solid shapes constantly, new arrangements of geometries that nanomaterials can fabricate. Perfect. I can make it mirror graphene with these shapes and vortexes that leave these stackable lattices, dude. It's incredible. I'm so thankful that I met Terrence.
Yeah. You know, and a lot of this technology, apparently, with a little bit of electrical knowledge, you can almost do it at kitchen sink. I've seen this channel, The Plasma Guy, and he does some quite amazing experiments. With his plasma experiments are pretty fantastic. It'd be good to yeah. I don't know.
How do I add a photo here? I haven't done this in a while. Take a snapshot. I'm trying to send you guys a photo here. I can't go back to the chat. You have to go to the chat, right? There we go. Okay. Share a link. Let me just see. Anyway.
Well, Greg's only down the road from you as well, Detroit, isn't he? And I'm sure he'd do a pretty decent set.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You'll have to get Greg on board. He'd do a fantastic set for you.
Well, I know Steve Crothers is on board for sure. That's huge. We could get Andy Hall for sure. I can get Andy Hall. I'd want Neil to do one. I doubt Neil would ever come to America ever again. I don't think he can nowadays. Ramon to present one. That's 3. Me, that's 4 speakers right off the bat.
Aaron Harden.
That's 5. You know, I mean, it's ready to go, guys. You know, it's just a matter of me linking people.
That's not that hard to get going. The AKHA has lots of connections in Michigan.
Yeah. What's AKHA?
The Ancient Kentucky Historical Association.
All right.
They're connected.
I haven't heard the acronym in a while.
They're and speaking of which, the presentation is premiering now from last night. They're connected through the Ancient American, which is the only diffusionist magazine. They go up there all the time. Every year they go up there for the conference that had the Ancient American Conference. Can't remember the name of the conference, but it's
okay. Well, I'm tied into a bunch of Native American churches up here, so that's cool. So that's 5 speakers right off the bat. I know I definitely present both days, and I'd probably, of course, be the the guy that introduces people, the guy that wears the hat and does the little dance in between people, in between sets, plays a little song. And next we have up.
Yeah, that's it. Put a really nice show together. Yeah, I suppose it takes a lot of planning, merchandising, like you say, and all that business. But 5 months is quite a long time to, you know, and if people have time, they can plan at least. So I think you know, like it's good to get the idea out as soon as you can. I think.
Right, because it takes a while to get it all together.
Yeah. I mean, especially if, you know, people are going to have to find hotels, aren't they, and all the rest of the stuff. But I mean, if you can make all that bit easier, you know, put people in the same place, hopefully, you know, at a reasonable price, and I think and they can have a party after the show, can't they? That's the thing.
Yeah, it stays open till 2, so
yeah, that's what you want.
That's the fun thing. So people can just, you know, party and go to their hotel room. Yeah, this is sounding better and better and better. I've been thinking about it all last year and how to approach it, because you know how many Electric Universe people that miss going to the conferences? If they see all the speakers in the lineup, dude, everyone's gonna come, man. Like, I'm pretty sure, I'm almost positive I could get Walt Thornhill. I had him pose with my product, and he doesn't pose with product. He was so happy with the necklace that I made him. He posed with it. So I just got to show him pictures of us hanging out at the conference and be like, "You remember me? Well, check this out." The first person who I ever interviewed on our podcast was Don Scott. Nobody thought that I could do it. Everybody's like, they laughed at me. Neil tried to steal the show from me. David Johnson tried to steal the show from me, and they laughed at me, and they said this is our show, bud. And then they laughed because I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to start one on Sundays then, because we do one on Saturdays. And luckily, I don't care. My feelings don't get hurt. I don't care if people try to take things, whatever, you know. I'm going to keep pursuing. I'm pretty much the only one running the bandwagon. You don't see David Johnson doing anything anymore. You don't see Neil doing anything anymore. You know, you, Ramon, you're fucking running the show. So
yeah, impetus has to keep going. You know, there's you know, everyone's still hungry for information, and there's, you know, and for events, and you know, I know the Electric Universe. I know that a lot of those good people are getting old now, and you know, they don't want to travel too much. They're into the 70s, a lot of those people. They've got plenty to do at home, but there are a lot of young people that need bringing on, and I'm sure that the younger generation there's got to be a massive target force there for intelligent discussion whilst not being stuffy, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, without having to have the rowdy behaviour that you get with, you know, my neck, this place. So you know, you need a mix where people can have a really good experience, the liberty for their minds to expand for that, you know, through the art and through the science that is being presented, which links to it.
I'm super comfortable at this venue. I mean, like, I got it on lock. And because of that, I know for a fact everything's going to run smoothly because it's really easy to run because it's a well-oiled machine. You know, the bartenders show up, they get paid, everybody shows up, performers, musicians. There's going to be, like, I'm going to have musicians. Like, it's not going to be a joke. It's not that hard to put together because I have a lot of musician friends who are hungry to perform as well. So
Totally.
okay, so I'm thinking September.
No, that's what we had talked about before, was trying to get something in fall. Of course, I was hoping it would be spring of this year for Michigan and fall for Kentucky, but we'll just have to rotate them and turn the fall one for Michigan and take spring next year. Sadly, the STEM arena thing has not come through, and I'm not saying Aaron did anything wrong. It's just it's an ambitious project because, you know, to buy that mall and set up a STEM arena is like millions of dollars. So, you know, it just may well be that he was a bit ambitious about being able to find people that would invest in that STEM arena. Also, the guy who was like behind it is kind of turned kind of flaky. So it may be that the Kentucky conference does not start in Elizabethtown after all. It may start here in Lexington, or maybe we do it in Louisville where the AKG is.
Okay, I would love to do and pay to have you take me and my girlfriend or a group of people to do a Kentucky cave tour.
Yeah.
Like, Ramon, you should do that shit.
The whole conference would be set up to do, you know, various in each year there'd be a different focus area, different hike, electrogeological focus, and I would of course lead them in Kentucky. Then there's classes, basically like bringing children in and having an area where they you know play. I'd probably put my kids in charge of setting up the areas. You know, I'd just generally help them plan it out, and it could be a lot of fun. You know, we start small and we get big, and we make it look like a place people want to be, even if they're doing digital streaming in. And pretty soon they're going to want to come. And then they start coming, they're going to experience how wonderful Kentucky and Michigan are. And it'd be a lot of fun. It'd be a lot of work, but it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think people like fall in Michigan. So if the Michigan one's normally in the fall, I think it would be better because people frequent Michigan in the fall because they want to do the fall colors. But September, there's not much change in the leaves anyway.
That's true. And Kentucky is quite spectacular in the spring, so it all works out. It's just a matter of getting it actually together and getting that done.
When does your spring start?
Well, I mean the daffodils come out in late February, but the real spring will come about either last week of March, first week of April. We've already had the first day of spring chi. However, of course there's ice storm out now, so winter's still got firm control.
Yeah.
But once we have that first day of spring chi, it's coming. So, and the fact that it happened so early, I would assume that we'll have an early spring this year. But you never know. Winter around here can really fight back. We very occasionally will get snow in April.
Okay, I got David Schiermeyer too. He's down. He'll perform for sure. If not, have a booth, and sell all of his stuff with his light viewer kits and somatics and everything. Because you know how tight in geometry of the universe and somatics and electricity is.
Yeah.
So gonna have to have some really good. He's on a new team that we developed, or he's developing. So Jason Berbelli would be amazing to have present. He would do it. That's 6'7". Heather would present if I begged her, and my girlfriend begged her, because she's reclusive, freaking recluse.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I think as well, some of these events are really nice, sort of in a. What I like is a real countryside environment, just a few tents or maybe teepees, and have a real good stargaze and round a fire in the evening, and then stargaze later on.
There's a huge fire pit there.
Yeah, that's it. So that's what I do most of the summer, and I'd hope to set it up so I could, maybe invite 10 or 20 people to come up with tents and stop up there for the night, and have a big fire pit party and thing going on. There are local pubs and hotels for people if they need it. So, that's the thing, isn't it? And try and get just more awareness really, because I know most people are just completely unaware of what's down the road, never mind electricity and space. Of course, some are interested. Some look at the stars sometimes, but not many of them. And but then, you get kids come up from Manchester, and it's from the city, and they've never been in such a quiet and beautiful place. So it's they're quite surprised by it when they do feel it. So it's just the experience, the energy that's important, I think, in these events, and then that's a breeding ground for ideas and for action and for inspiration and more energy, and get that vortex moving. Hopefully, some people with expertise come to the party, like some astronomers and some mathematicians, and just people of every discipline really, who can use and share this information.
Hey, I'm gonna have to hop back on the call. I need to make a phone call, but I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Now, I think I saw wasn't Andy on here too? Was he still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
What's going on?
No, not a real lot. I was about to go to bed. I thought, I'll answer this for a bit.
Yeah, it's true to be late over there. I'm surprised that Roberts missed it again. Would have been a good time for him to talk to Buddy.
Give him another call. He might have just missed a call.
No, he may have. I don't know. Let's see here.
You can do that again, can't you? Off that, Ramon.
Well, I mean, I don't see an immediate button on my phone to do it.
I'm sure it'll happen at some point.
Well, he's probably already gone to bed if sleep.
No. He'd only be about 9:30 at night.
Oh, okay.
Maybe 11. They're about 3 hours behind, 3.5 hours behind us.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You're not working in the morning then, Andy?
No, it's Saturday, mate. Got a weekend off.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
But it's a bit grim here weather-wise, not too bad. We just got a bit of showers and bit of squally showers and rain and clouds. Not too bad though. Can see a little bit of blue sky in between. But just pretty normal for January, February. I mean, probably about 89 degrees even centigrade. That's for us though, so that'll be probably 48, 45 degrees or something like that.
Yeah. Did you cover good dumping over there, Ramon? No?
No, it really let me down. And we canceled clinic yesterday and it turned out to just be a bunch of rain. I'm really upset about it, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty crap, those weather forecasters sometimes. They are up here anyway. I just, they're pretty, they're pretty useless. Unless it's just...
They did get some good snow in Greg's part of the world, in Michigan. Yeah.
He said they had 2.5 foot of snow last night, the other night, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, I haven't seen that much.
They've cancelled school. They'd cancelled school and those sort of things. Yeah. So you must have been a little bit far down for it, Ramon.
Amazing how fast they dig it out, though,
Yeah, well, not this city because this city's lazy, but really the roads weren't bad at all. It was the ice. It was just getting all the ice off the car and picking up the kids. That was the hard thing.
And that's the worst thing to drive in, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, again though, with all this snow, I had lots of grip, but I have all-wheel drive, and in the truck I have even 4-wheel drive, so I wasn't worried at all. It's just that nobody was going to come in because of ice and snow, so you end up closing. It's just upsetting that I had to be closed yesterday because the meteorologist said there'd be all this ice starting in the middle of the night before. And it turned out it was just rain. I mean, it just rained all day long. Boy, I was in a bad mood until top boxing. I was in a bad mood until about 30 minutes into teaching boxing.
You've got to wonder how people lived until they got this 24-hour news cycle.
Well, they didn't whine as much. I'll tell you that. They had some self-responsibility.
Yep. You get a cold day, they're worrying. You get a hot day, they send out all these alerts, make sure you drink and all that. Oh, just over the top.
Well, I mean, on the sort of weaponized news that we get, they threaten a snowstorm every day, every weekend of the year, just about. Snow, imminent, blizzards on its way. They don't tell you it's right. It's about localized to the Isle of Arran or something and it's only about 20 miles across. It's they use client the weather. The news people on the TV shows are it's a strange type of psychology what they're using through the weather girl or the weatherman. Very strange psychological behavior going on. Apologizing if it's a bit foggy, and normally they're completely abstract. What the news you're getting is so general across a wide range of weather types that all you're getting at the end of it is her or his attitude. You're not getting any information. That's a bit of a problem with them weather people. Bloody news is weaponized. Everything.
Well, the whole news is weaponized. So what are they saying over there about all the business with Ukraine and that, Ramon?
Huh?
What are they saying in your part of the world with Ukraine and that?
We talk about it I talk about it, but we don't talk about it very much in America on account of distraction. Biden's weak stance is almost guaranteeing that it'll be taken over. There's not much we can do about it. We can't get there in time.
Yeah, but then it comes back to it was meant to be a neutral state after the breakup of the Soviet Union, and why isn't that being pursued? You know, the corruption in those some of those areas has been massive ever since the breakup of the old union.
They're trying to tie it in with Kazakhstan and all that business, and what's happening in Armenia. They're trying to throw it all into one big bucket again, and you know, and it's these are different. These are totally different arenas. You know, they need to find a new arena, don't they? So they're just prodding around till they can find someone.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is too, Ukraine's still got to learn that you know, you actually have to pay your bills too. You know, like they owe Russia billions for gas and stuff. That's what that Nordic pipelines were about. Because they didn't pay them bills.
Yeah.
So you just got to wonder whether it's another beat up like we've seen in the past, and hopefully it doesn't get out of control.
Well, I mean, at the moment, Germany's getting all its gas from Russia, so they don't want any kind of. If Russia stops its gas supply, most of Eastern Europe is just about fucked as far as energy goes. So none of them want it. It's the people in power in Ukraine are bloody puppets who you know, Bidenenko's pals, and so no one really wants to back them. So yeah, Putin, you know, you just totally quite easily outmaneuvered Biden in a sweep. You know, I'm sure a more able aware leader wouldn't have let any of this come into being in the first place, really.
You got to wonder about some of his advisors too.
Well, yeah,
that's one of the biggest problems is who's doing the advising on a lot of these things.
Well, yeah, you know? I mean the EU's expansionist. The EU's got aspirations to run all that place. You know, and incorporate it into the EU.
Yeah, you've seen Trump, for instance, he started talking with the little fella in North Korea. Now, at the end of it, you go to war. At the end of the war, you've still got the issues to sort out. So he started talking to bloke in North Korea, and then he sent Bolton over there, and Bolton went straight over there and wound him up. He told him to get on a plane and get home, and said, Trump, see you later, mate.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I mean by you got to wonder about who's doing the advising and everything on these things.
Well, yeah, I think you've got generals who work when they've done the generalship, they go and work in they get a directorship on an arms company, don't they? And then they've got a direct route from the arms manufacturers into the army, or whoever uses their arms, and they really have got to blow a lot of their weapons off, or they don't get to sell any more. And I think this is why they've left all those armaments in Afghanistan, because it means now they need you know, the budgets to get off the taxpayer to buy a load more. And of course, it's their companies that these are the people who are in the business. They're in the war weapons industry. I think the oil industry is a sideline for them, but an equally important one for us. So we are caught in that system again, I think. See how it plays out. It comes down to I can't see many troops wanting to go and fight in a war over there anyway. Not a chance.
No.
Can't see it.
They'd be a bit different taking them on to taking on Afghanistan or Iraq, Syria, and all them. Yeah. So anyway, the other thing is, so have you got fuel prices going up fairly well too, Ramon?
I got what going up?
Fuel
Prices? Prices,
Fuel.
yeah.
Energy.
Yeah, I'm not so worried about that. I mean, that is happening. The gas is definitely, over $3 a gallon. But the thing that gets me is right before an ice storm, I'm walking through the grocery store, and the shelves are freaking empty because of Biden. And I actually said it in the store. I just said, "Let's go, Brandon," because there's no milk and no bread.
How's
Now,
Biden?
not no, there's a little left, you know what I mean? But the milk really was empty. And this
How's
is,
he caused it? How's that Biden caused it?
well, he didn't cause it. He made it get worse. So, when they took over, there was already a logistics supply chain problem. There's a huge backup. And so he started finding the ports. Obviously, a real solution would have been to fly the military in and get all these ports cleared and use transport helicopters and do it what's possible with their planes to move this stuff along. But instead, like an idiot, they use this as an opportunity to find the ports so that they can make that extra money so they can pay for more of their ridiculous welfare programs. And of course that backfires because then the ports can't afford, to operate. So they can't hire the people that they would need in order to offload. So I believe that it was done on purpose. And I believe that he is owned by Compromat and that he is not the real president at all. And I would say that Putin right now is the president because the real Russian collusion has always been on the Democrat side, right? The Clintons were going over there and selling things. If people don't know this, then they're idiots at this point. And I'll be straight up with it. Anybody that's listening, if you don't know that Hillary Clinton was the actual Russian collusion, you're an idiot. Please stop voting. Please stop breeding.
She was selling him uranium.
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable. So Biden's family has been owned by Compromat because of Hunter Biden, probably because of also Joe Biden. He's a well-known pedophile, rapist. He's an idiot. He's got Alzheimer's as well. So it's like he's the perfect puppet. And I reckon that they made this thing worse on purpose. I mean, everybody knows what happens if you find somebody that have less money to operate. So the whole thing's been created, and I believe it's been created to starve Americans, to instigate them, to get people at each other's throats, so that changes can happen in the world really fast, and they can pretend. And I reckon that they're probably going to get away with it. I really do believe that they're going to get away with this false flag just the same as they've gotten away with with 9/11, and they've gotten away with Sandy Hook. They've gotten away with everything. Hold on a second. My son was going to ask me a question. Just a second. I'll be right.
We have the same issue, Nick. We have a big shortage. You know how you had that big shortage of truck drivers?
Still got it. 100,000 we need here. Every goods. I have 100,000 shortage because they got these European drivers in it over here. Many of them didn't even have test qualifications, insurance. They weren't anywhere near the scrutiny and quality that we worked under. They got paid same wages as us, but of course they didn't have to pay out for all the licenses and all the rest of it. So then they end up taking the jobs. The jobs got harder and harder to do, and then people after 50 hours, 60 hours a week for 20 years of that thought, but fuck it, I'm not doing it anymore. I've had it. If the cops pull you over for a ball tie, you're going to get £1,000 fine. So you can get fined more than you can earn every day when you're driving around. The roads are just populated by people who shouldn't be on the bloody roads, completely inept, useless drivers. I mean, I used to drive a skip truck, and it was my heart was in my mouth after 4 when kids come out of school and it's the kids run. Fuck, anything can happen. Anything can happen. And it's the drivers, not the kids. It's the drivers who they've got to get right close to the school gates, and then they're doing U-turns and they don't know who's where, and chaos, man.
What country did you say you were in, Nick?
England.
Oh, I thought you were in Australia, the way you're talking.
Yeah. Anyway.
Like you do. That's what it's like here too.
So a lot of the drivers have just said, right, it's not enough money, and so they're gonna get another job, and they can't get people to. I mean, it used to cost you like £9,000 to do the training to be an HGV driver, class 1, and about £9,000 for your lessons and your test. And of course, I'd saved up the money when I was 19-year-old to do that, and I've gone along. So I'm going to do my HGV class 1. I've had to go and get a medical test. Of course, so I've gone along on the Monday morning. Of course, that weekend I've played game of lacrosse, game of football, and probably run 4 or 5 mile on the Friday. So I've gone into the doctors, and there's something wrong here. So he's on the phone to my dad then. Then I'm off to see an heart specialist because this prick's decided he's found a heart murmur on me right. Now, at that point I could run a mile in probably under 5 minutes, well under 5 minutes. Yep. 100 meters at probably 12 seconds, something like that, 11 seconds. So I was fairly fit. I could run 10, 20 mile if I needed to. And he decided I had a heart murmur. So that stopped it completely. That put me out of the yeah. Yep. And then when you see some of these guys sat in these trucks, it's just beyond my belief, really. But anyway, for some reason, this doctor decided I wasn't fit enough to drive an HGV truck, if you can believe that. When I played sports at high level, most of my life, all my younger life, these are just unbelievable, some of these people. And that just speaks for itself, doesn't it? It just speaks for itself.
I think now a lot too that are older have decided they're going to do the more easier stuff and just work 2 or 3 days a week to a bit of pocket money type thing.
It makes sense. Because
not the long distance stuff, because like you said before, I've had enough of working 60 hours a week.
Yeah.
And everything now, look, crossing borders and that here is like a real pain. It can be. And I think a lot of them are just thought, not interested anymore in that. And, maybe in a couple of years, a good few of them will go back to it. But for now, I think a lot of them are just having their own personal, not working.
It isn't.
Like everyone's gone on strike.
Well, what you stand to lose? I mean, it's such a highly pressurised job. You're every split second of your day is analysed on your tachograph. So you've got to inspect your vehicle, and if there's anything wrong, you've got to refuse to drive it. Now you go and tell that to a boss. But I've got a warning light that keeps coming on every morning, boss. Just ignore it. It's going in on Friday. Because we haven't got another truck. Oh, all right then, boss. But what shall I say if the cops stop me then, boss? Well, we'll pay the fine. Okay, then. So, of course, they can't fix the fault on the warning light. So that's been going for 18 months. But it's all right saying we'll pay the fine. But, of course, that's points on your licence, which you're going to have to, which one way or another you're going to have to pay. Blah, de blah. And you can't say no to your boss, can you? You know what I mean?
Well, they make it hard.
You can, but you might not have a job afterwards.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm getting at.
This brings up an interesting subject, a small rant I have. People keep saying they can or can't do this stuff. Now, I understand it's not easy to say no to mask mandates or whatever, but you can. It's just that people don't want to. And I think that people need to start taking more. This has been the subject on Discord this morning. Take more responsibility. You can say no to your boss, but there might be some kind of ramification for that.
Yep.
You can refuse to wear a mask. Gandhi refused to stop taking the people to the ocean to make salt, and the Black Americans refused to leave the counters and the buses and to obey evil laws. And they were arrested, they were beaten, but they won. And they won because they were right. So if people really want change, then stop doing what despots tell you. These people are cowards. Look at Justin Trudeau. You ever seen such a wussy? I mean, a few trucks drive towards Ottawa and he loses his ever-loving mind. They're not particularly strong people inside, and they're not particularly smart people either. They're just con men and women. So you just show up and tell them what you want. One guy called him a communist FUCK to his face with the selfie, and Justin ran away like a little child. And that's because that's exactly what he is. The only difference is between me and that guy, I would have kept going. That guy was busy having fun with it, which is good. I like comedy. Comedy is a good thing to use. But the best thing to do is corner them and make them shake inside. That's what government. That's the real Americanism. People think it's about the flag. No, the flag is just a symbol of the people and of the colonies and the states. But the real issue is with Americanism. You can be American-hearted in anywhere in the West, as long as you doubt the powers that be. You doubt the divine right to rule, because that's what the experiment of 1776 was. It was an experiment, and we'll lose that experiment if we abandon the experiment. Right? It's not that the experiment fails; it's just that we suddenly abandon it despite it working. And people really think socialism and communism never worked before, never in all of history, never, not in one single place has it ever worked. And they like to cite things like Scandinavia, and you go, well, Scandinavia doesn't even have a minimum wage. So people are not really paying attention to anything. And if they want things to change, then they have to say no. And my governor, he can make his little petty rule all he wants. The question is, can he enforce it? And what he found out is he can't, because Kentuckians are armed, and they're willing to make sure that he knows that you act too much like a tyrant and somebody will hang you. So if people will stand up and say no, I understand that they've been disarmed a lot in various places like Canada. However, they still have other things, right? There's always pitchforks and torches and drawing and quartering. And if people aren't willing to play their part in history, then they'll become a historical story. That historical story will be a tragedy. And that tragedy will be, how could all these people have so much access to information and history at the palm of their hands and not be willing to stand up to their neighbors, or their family, when they say ridiculous things or do things like report people for contact tracing or whatever. Right. This is not only Orwellian. This is like literally Nazi Germany kind of stuff. Turning in your own neighbors and your own family. It's disgusting. I reckon if some family member had forget disowning them, I'd have gotten in their face so hard that family member would have been quaking in their sleep. They'd been peeing themselves. They'd have needed therapy.
So I just don't understand it. But I'm from Kentucky, and that's the way we are. We are, generally overweight, generally mediocre, generally a little slow, and we're kind people. However, there are lines. I couldn't believe that people were allowing themselves to get ankle braceleted in 2020 by the governor, and then it turned out, of course, the police were picking on the poor, right? They were picking mostly on blacks, but they were picking on poor whites, etc. And what I don't understand is why those people didn't get in their car, drive 200 miles up to the governor's place, and put a bullet into the place. Because by the time the ankle monitor goes off, you're already out of the county. You're already up to Frankfurt. So I don't really understand it. If they'd have tried to put an ankle bracelet on me, that would have resulted in multiple fatalities. So I have no idea why people they put up with this bullcrap. The woman who went to the so-called voluntary concentration camp there in Australia, it blows me away. She should have used her claws and ripped an eyeball out. If she'd have pulled the eyeball out of the guy who was telling her that she couldn't cross a yellow line, I bet he would reevaluate his position in life. Whether or not.
I can answer that. You know what would have happened to her? She would have had half a dozen dumper, and she would have ended up behind bars.
So what? Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do it. These people need to be told no. And the problem is you have entire generations, three generations that haven't been told no. And I coach basketball. I'm going to go on another rant here, but it's not really a rant. I coach basketball with these boys, right? And the other day they said I think we practice harder than all the other teams. And I was like, well, that's why you're going to win, right? I ran them on 4 suicide sprints, and plus they did 8 laps ahead of the thing. Now, when I was a kid, this would be considered absolutely average training, average. But I looked over, and the coach on the other end, I mean, they were just kind of lazing around or whatever. When we play them next, it's going to be even more of a stomping than the first time we played them and only won by 10 points. So I don't know it's just like people have lost their minds as to how things go. I was just writing in Discord, expectations and shame work. They do work on a societal level. I don't recommend it for, little children and stuff to shame them, but I would say that they need to know some shame. It makes them good people. If they know that they stole little Johnny's toy and then they're put in the corner or they're, given some kind of punishment, it fixes the behavior. And we just have a whole society where no one has any shame. That's not a good thing. And anyways, that's my rant for the day. I'll go back to being chill.
Well, where do we go from there now, Nick?
We go forward into the future, gentlemen. We go forward into the future. We go forward and create a society with some expectations, some boundaries. A society that knows itself. There is nothing wrong with white males. There is something wrong with a certain segment of white males, but there's nothing wrong with a culture of white males. We've produced a lot of good things. I reckon rather than try and eliminate the culture of white males that have produced the modern world, we should probably all work together and give everyone an option to get into engineering, get into science, get into mathematics, and go from it's like in order to try and create so-called equity, we're destroying the people who have built the world. That doesn't make sense because it just heads us back in the direction of huts and scalping and heart sacrifice and slavery. And the slavery is on the increase. Instead, we should be working towards everyone becoming rational and enlightened and using math and logic. And so people are going to have to stand up and they're going to have to say, this is bullcrap, right? Everything that's happening in these universities is total bullcrap. And it's just racism, right? If critical race theory is nothing but hating white people and putting divisions between people of different colors and different creeds on basis of things that often they can't control. I mean, their religion they could theoretically control, but children really can't. So it's just creating more and more division. It's time to say no to that. And it's time to promote something that actually promotes the world, which is going to be, real progress. And the thing that's going to make that possible is to reinvest ourselves in our own culture. For me to double down on rationalism and engineering and mathematics, and calculus, history, and science, electromagnetism, etc. If I double down on those things and I double down on the facts, and then I'm willing to defend myself, I'm willing to be toe to toe with anybody at any time, whether that's intellectual, it's a Ben Davidson situation or something else, then I will win. And if I win and I can teach others to win, then by and by we can improve society again with a little bit of backbone and values. The West is not suffering from anything that isn't curable. It's just that the cure is painful. I mean, it requires a lot of sacrifice, but in this case, it's sacrifice of leisure time, sacrifice of comfort, sacrifice of passing the buck to somebody else. It's somebody else's problem. And if we will stop doing that, we'll be quite able to promote not only this cosmology, but the entire facet of what actually progressed humans. We can avoid the racist trappings of the Victorians, but neither should we ignore the plain facts of the differences between men and women and between different races. This is something to be celebrated. The fact that everyone is different is part of God's plan, and we should be celebrating that. But as far as like going back towards, tribalism, this is the mark of, it's the height of stupid. And I reckon that, white guys catch a lot of crap, but actually, our culture has been so adaptive that we voluntarily gave up power and rights to women and minorities. And because one day, we might be the minorities. Well, men are a minority.
Well, I reckon we've given up our power.
And then working with others is a good thing.
Ramon, I reckon we've given up our power and rights to the academics. And now if you look sideways at something, they're offended. That's
they pretend to be offended.
And then when they go, I agree with you, it's a pretend thing, 90% of it.
Yeah.
Right? But what I'm saying is,
outrageous.
I think where it's gone is the academics at the moment have too much say.
They do.
And a lot of them have never gone and got their hands dirty doing anything. They've gone to school, gone to university, and then stayed there and become a professor, and now they're telling everyone how they should live. They've never been out in so it's like a different little bubble, and at the moment they seem to have a lot of say. They took over from the churches in a lot of ways.
If you've been at school all your life, how are you going to know what it's like in the real world? It's impossible.
I don't think that they will until the real world punches them in the face, and that's happening more and more quickly. And I think people should prepare themselves mentally for this reality, because it's going to come up on them whether they're ready for it or not.
I think the turning point.
History has taught us this. Like, you don't really get to avoid. If you're a German in 1938, you don't get to say, "Well, I opt out of this whole, Third Reich thing. It just looks like a bad idea." It didn't get to happen for you. You got to participate whether you wanted to or not. If you were a Venezuelan and you were enjoying your oil money in the 90s, guess what? Your future was communism. And where did that come from? You and all your friends in Venezuela. If we have a Venezuelan listener, you made a choice. Your choice is either to sit back and let these people win, or you actually voted for this. And when you voted for it, you got exactly the democracy that you wanted. And it ruined your country. And it's going to ruin your country for 100 years. So there are consequences for either the choice of saying nothing and doing nothing, or the choice of participating actively and declaring that you're the one who's the anti-racist, when in fact all they're doing is shouting racist stuff all the time. They're constantly being racist. They're hugely racist. It's unbelievable. So people got to stand up. And I would ask the conservatives and Christians, stop being too polite, right? Jesus overturned the money tables, and then he whipped the money changers, right? He whipped them. He didn't say, "Would you please leave? You're offending me." He whipped them. So it's a good thing to occasionally get a little bit of backbone to you and say no. And we have to say no to the academics, and we have to say no to the racists, and we have to say no to the fascists, and say no to the commies, and no to the socialists, and no to the jihadis, and no to the anarchists, and say, I'm sorry. Your point of view has been tested in the experiment of history, and it was found wanting and even depraved. And its depravity is not allowed anymore. You can have the views for yourself, but I reckon if you want to be a real liberal, it's not just about liberty. You have to be willing to liberate heads. And then I hopefully they liberate themselves. But if they come and threaten your family, threaten your livelihood, you don't just sit back and politely go, oh, so should I stand behind this yellow line in this concentration camp, sir? No. You get some chutzpah about you and you claw out the eyeballs of the guy. Now, yeah, she goes to jail. But when that happens 5 more times, the government reevaluates its position. And it's weird how that happens. And it happens even faster when there's guns involved, or apparently trucks, which are potentially a deadly weapon. But people just have to grow a spine. It wouldn't be that hard if they would just stop and read history. And because history teaches you when you are up against the wall, it doesn't matter if you like being up against the wall. It's too late for that. You allowed that to happen, or you and your friends, or you and your family, or the voting base, or this party, or whatever, the Labor Party, whoever it was, allowed it to get to this point. And now it's the time to say no. Say no to people who are not used to having no said to. Now, they might fight you like the Golden Corral incident, right? The person, apparently they ran out of steaks. Oh, that's unacceptable. So they started attacking people in the Golden Corral. Well, that's why we have concealed carry laws. If somebody attacks me or the restaurateur for not having steaks and they start wielding a baby chair, I'm going to pull out my 40 cal and I am going to plug that person because they're wielding a potentially deadly weapon. And it's a ridiculous reason to lose your mind. But that's the age we live in. And I just want people to take seriously the reality that we are embedded in and don't argue with that reality, adjust to that reality.
Well, I reckon, Ramon, the change is coming in the next 2 years. And yes, it will be to do with what Clinton's famous words in one of his election campaigns was. It's all about the economy, stupid.
That's right.
And I think Nick would agree with me. It's happening in England, Australia, Canada, all those countries. Right? Interest rates are going to go up. And you don't have to put them up very much before you double everybody's payments because of the housing situation, how it's been ran in these countries. And when people realise that the banks won't refinance them and that they're going to have to sell and wear the loss, that's when things are going to get quite nasty because governments won't even be in a financial position to step in. You know, the levels are fast approaching where the governments won't be able to step in and say, oh, look, we'll give you some money. And that's when the change will come. That's when they'll realise that the government can't provide the tit all the time.
Well, that's right. That's right. So I think that's already been predicted, and it's kind of how violent this kind of shock is going to be.
Yep.
I think people with money are trying to put it into any kind of way that's not going to evaporate into inflation. Crypto's going up and down like bloody crazy. Gold and silver's ready to go up, but they haven't got enough gold to pay all the money anyway, so the money's going to collapse. The fiat currencies are going to go, aren't they?
Hate it to death.
What was that, Ramon?
All right. I would love to keep doing on the call, but apparently the kids are ready for science and they're just stalling, and basically the day is melting away. So I'm going to stop recording for me.